All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of XS Succeed. This is Gearface. I am joined graciously by Faust at the very last minute. Faust, thank you so much for being here.
Hello.
Uh, we've taken time out of my not busy schedule and Faust's busy schedule to talk a little bit about Lily from all the way back in Red Horizon, a famously unproblematic character. Um, really looking forward to this one. I don't know very much about Lily other than what people have what some of the Exceed old heads have complained about. So I'm interested in knowing what all the fuss is about. And I've been told by many people that Faust is a pretty good person to do that. A couple disclaimers before we get started. As always, number one, we're going to be talking about playing to win on this show. Exceed is a game that you should play for fun. And if the lines of play, or frankly, if the characters that we're describing don't sound particularly fun to you, don't play that line or don't play that character. Um, Not only is that, it's kind of some self care for you, but it's going to make you better in the long run. If you are enjoying the game, you'll play it more, you'll think about it more. Don't force yourself to play in a way that is optimal just because it's optimal, because then you won't have any fun at all. Disclaimer number two, we don't know everything. Even for a character this ancient and storied, Exceed is not a solved game. There are, take everything that we're going to say with a grain of salt. Faust is a very good Lily player and a very good Exceed player in general. But if you have a line with Lily that is different, or an evaluation of Lily's tools that are different than what we're going to talk about on this lesson, uh, Faust being on this show does not mean that Faust is right and you are wrong. Please tell us where we differ. We'd love to learn together. Yeah, all that said, though, please, Faust, I'm dying to know a little bit about Lily.
All right. So, I'd like to just start out the lesson for Lily by saying that if for anyone who's newer to Exceed, you probably played with the Guilty Gear season, and as we go through Lily, you'll probably notice that there's another character that looks very similar, and it's they have very similar play patterns, so you might recognize things. I'm sure your face
You,
knows what I'm
you're, of
talking about.
course, talking about Potemkin.
Yes,
Yep,
yes,
yep.
yeah.
So
So,
we
yeah.
and
Have you
and
done
also, I mean, speaking of that disclaimer I just gave about playing for fun and playing to win, and the thing I said about Lily having some controversial, old head opinions about her, Axel, no stranger to that himself. People are tend to get frustrated fighting Axel for the same reasons that they get frustrated fighting Lily.
yeah.
Okay,
I do think that Axel is a slightly better character, but Lily is definitely very good.
okay, sounds good.
But yeah,
So as we and I have had an Axel lesson, so we can kind of we could think of him as sort of like an archetypal normal zoner, a person who is using uh, expanded range bands on his normals to do things that characters kind of aren't normally supposed to be able to do. And it turns out that that on its own, with no other support, is just really strong, and that's just a very good thing for a character to be able to do. So having very briefly glanced at some of the words on Lily's character card, I'm assuming that we're going to be talking about something kind of similar here.
yes, yes.
Okay.
But
So
yeah, so let's take a look at Lily's ability. Lily's ability is your normal attacks have +0 to 1 range, and you pay 1 less force when retreating. So as we said, you extend the range of your normals. You can zone with them; they get better, and it's just a passive. You don't have to pay any resources for it. It just happens all the time.
okay.
So your cards are just better than your opponents by base,
Okay.
effectively.
So
Uh,
in terms of what this does to our normals, um, obviously we can just mentally append an extra number on all of them. But in terms of what it does to strike interactions and how we would plan to use our cards, what does that extra range actually change?
it makes it so that when you're at a range with your opponent, your normals are more likely to be effective than theirs are. If you're at range 2, their grass doesn't hit you, but yours hits them. So, in effect, all of your cards just happen to be better than them the further you are away, and when you're closer, that benefit doesn't apply as much.
Okay, so I already have a normal that hits at range 2. It's cross. Um, Now I have another one. It's grasp.
Yeah.
So I'm more likely just by the averages of going through my deck of being able to find something that works at a given range than my opponent is.
Yeah, and increasing the range also means you're one up on the speed curve because of the way normals work. So
Sure.
now you have an above curve option at pretty much every range.
Okay, so the fastest thing that my opponent could leverage at range 2, unless they have a Shoryuken or something, is probably cross. My grasp can cleanly beat that at range 2. Similarly, my cross can cleanly beat their assault at range 3. My assault can cleanly beat their dive at range 4. I can just be above curve pretty much wherever I want.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
I'm trying to think if there's anything else about the normals. Obviously, the two that come up a lot from Axel conversations are uh, range 2 grasp can beat sweep,
yep,
which is pretty messed up. Sweep is sweep cannot be crossed out of at range 1.
yep. And you can
Which
initiate sweep on opener too.
yeah, true, yeah. So sweep and spike and assault actually are all part of your opening mix up.
Yep.
So that's all really scary. Um, can we kind of take or maybe translate from the Axel lesson that Lily then sort of wants to stand in like that range 2 to 4 area of the board?
Yeah. And she has a lot of tools for getting there and even getting further away if she needs to in
For
order to get there.
example, the other line of text on her character ability would help.
Yes. It's very good. It's like half of reusability, except for she has to move backwards.
Sure. So we've got uh, this zero is a number 2, right?
Yeah.
I can move 1 back by paying 0 force. I can move 2 back by paying 1 force. I can have
Yeah.
free movement. In other
Yep.
words, um, is this really specifically referring to the move action? Are there any other sources of retreat in her kit that cost force?
It is referring to the move action. I don't know what the updated text would be.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but like there are boosts that move you, but you have to pay the cost and then choose to move. So I'm I could be wrong, but I don't believe
It
it applies to that.
if there was, I haven't looked at the boost, but if there was a
Yeah.
hypothetically, a 1 force special boost that said retreat up to whatever, you pay the cost on the force on the boost, but what you paid for is the boost, not the boost's effect.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, sure. But either way, I mean, having a discounted move action on a zoner seems like an okay
Oh,
thing to do.
it's very good. You basically can't get stuck at range 1 unless you're in the corner.
Sure.
Um, because if someone moves up to range 1, you just take a step back, draw a card, didn't spend any resources.
Right.
Opponent spends something to get up to you. If they want to move up again, you just repeat the process.
And even going from range 1 to range 2 with Lily turns on an option that is actually kind of tough to deal with. Like range 2 grasp is quite good.
Yeah.
So that pattern can kind of establish a threat for you, it sounds like.
Yeah. Lily is pretty solid at range 2, better at range 3, and then she kind of has a lot of things she can do at range 4
Yeah.
that aren't particularly fair.
Okay.
But we'll see
So
those as we go through her stuff.
sure. All right. So but it sounds like the general play pattern that's animated specifically by just looking at her character card on its own is that we want to be farther away from the opponent than they're comfortable with.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for the Lily lesson. We've got there.
Yes, you're a zoner. You want to stand where your opponent is uncomfortable and keep them there. That
Yep.
is effectively what Lily wants to do.
Makes sense. Okay. Shall we get into the kit itself then? Or I guess we also
Exceed
have an
mode,
exceed
yeah.
ability.
Yeah, a lot of Red Horizon characters, except for like one, basically have just an upgraded version of their exceed mode, and that's effectively what Lily's is. Um, you actually just basically become Axel on your exceed mode with
Yep.
his exceed mode, where your normal attacks just have +0 to 2 range. Um, it's very good. It makes range 3 and 4 practically unbeatable when you have all your normals up. You just have like a range 3 grasp is there's not really anything pretty much any
Yeah.
character can do about it.
There aren't any normals that beat that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Your sweep hits from range 5, so you can stand at range 5. There are no normals that hit at range 5, and you have something that hits. Um, Like you can spike them if they try and block. It's just a not fair
Yeah.
ability.
It basically turns off your opponent's crosses entirely. Um,
Yeah.
there's your sweep still hits, your spike still hits.
Mm.
Um, yeah, that's pretty mean. So should I take from that that basically is exceeding the way it is for many Red Horizon characters? Is that kind of plan A?
Um, I don't think it's necessary for Lily as much.
Okay,
It's definitely very good. Because her frontside doesn't have a downside like Axel's does. You don't need to exceed to get some of the other things online. It's just a win more ability,
right.
which a lot of the time is good. Um, but her ultras are also very good, so you can spend your gauge on them, and they're her usual damage catch outs. Um, because a lot of her other attacks kind of are chip damage, other than like long range sweeps and stuff. So it's not like you need to rush exceed, but if you can exceed and make good use of it, it's very good.
How's her gauge generation? Can she reasonably afford both a big payout ultra and an exceed, or are you kind of choosing one or the other?
Oh yeah, you can absolutely afford both.
Okay, so maybe it's not that big
Yeah,
a question. We're gonna use whatever we got, but
yeah,
it's not as mandatory to exceed as other characters in Red Horizon. Um,
yeah.
okay,
I mean, she gets more unfair, but she's already kind of unfair as it is. So it's like,
right,
do I need that advantage to continue to win, or can I just keep cashing out with my big cards?
right.
And as you as you'll see, like she has a lot of really easy to confirm attacks, so that do like little pieces of chip damage.
So
So
she'll just
like you
have
say them,
gauge as she's chipping away at her opponent's life.
yeah,
As opposed to what like a grappler does, where they hit you 3 times over the course of the game, but they're hitting for 10 every time. Um, but hitting for 10 doesn't mean you built more gauge.
yeah, and she can also go through her deck really fast.
Okay. Okay.
So
Um,
yeah,
so are there any particular matchups where exceeding is more important, or any particular game states, or is that something that is just like kind of it's like player preference?
usually the matchups where you want to exceed are where the other person actually has the tools to deal with your zoning. Usually that's another Red Horizon character because they have a lot of really weird, fast shapes at random ranges that just happen to be the ranges you might be standing at.
Right.
Um, or if the opponent has something like an absurd amount of card advantage or good ranged attacks or stun immunity or something that you just need a little bit more edge to be able to beat them consistently.
Sure. That makes sense.
'Cause other than your ultras and again like sweep and stuff, you're not going to be doing a lot of damage. So like 3 mistakes might end up making you take 18 damage. Where if your opponent makes 3 mistakes, they may take 6.
Right. Sure. And so being able to very consistently win neutral or very consistently land attacks might be required, and it might
Yeah,
be enabled by your exceed side. On the other hand, your biggest sources of damage, it sounds like, are coming from your altars anyway. You might need those just to shore up your lack of damage otherwise. And to your point about the Red Horizon, like Red Horizon, like the speed curve's always been the speed curve, right? Grasp is what you can do at range 1 at speed 7. But like back in Red Horizon, there are people like Alice who just have an eye that's hitting 1 to 3 at speed 7, and
8.
things just kind of looked different back then, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And like ultras consistently had speed 8. There are like 2 specials that have speed 8. Some of them
Yeah.
are speed 9. Like it just is far above what a lot
Yeah,
of the
things were pretty crazy back then.
yeah,
That same consideration though, like if we looked at I don't know, a Rachel um in season 5 who's got Whirlwind, right, which is a an above curve um button she can press at range 3. Things like that might still be relevant to make Lily have to exceed in order
yeah,
to uh deal with a problematic card that specific opponents might have. Is that fair?
yeah. I mean, your grasp doesn't hit a range 2 with front side. Your grasp hits a range 3 with front side, so you can beat Whirlwind on defense on your exceed mode.
Right. Right. Yeah. So that kind of interaction. Look at what your opponent is doing and see if you actually need to be more unfair than just regular unfair. Sounds good. Okay. Shall we talk about the other unfair things that she can do?
Yeah. So Lily's a zoner, but she actually has some decent tools for close range stuff. I'm gonna
Okay.
talk about those first. So those be these two over here.
Sure thing.
Um, so these two are like grappling tools, which is really weird to have on a zoner, but we have excessive force, which is run range, 2 power, 7 speed, hit, push the opponent 3 spaces.
Oh,
Um,
this is Cannon Spike.
yes, except for you
Okay.
can't pull them.
Yeah, sure. It's very very similar for people who haven't seen it. It's a Cami special that is a similar, a 7 speed button that can beat sweep at range one.
Yeah, it's got 2 power, so if your opponent plays an EX, then they'll always tank through it. But it's kind of hard to tank through it and hit you back when you get pushed 3 spaces.
Sure, it would be like specifically EX dive.
Yeah, I guess if you're in the corner, it's pretty good.
Yeah, but even then, that's still a pretty serious call out option
Yeah.
for specifically excessive force.
Hmm.
Um, push 3 spaces though on a zoner, right, is
Yeah,
something that kind of like sort of pays for itself. It seems like.
it's very good, especially if you can defend with this card and then go into your turn. Being able to push them out to 4 where you're almost always going to win and then be able to strike into them is very good.
Right. This is something that's actually come up on a lot of lessons where, like, basically anything that moves you or moves your opponent, if you can put advantage on it or if you can do it on defense so you can take advantage of that position immediately, is just like, that's like a good exceed practice. Um, I think the example that came up most recently was on Poulter's Testament lesson where you can't zone if you spend your turn pushing them out and your opponent spends their turn walking back in. If you can spend their turn pushing them out, then you can throw a projectile at them right away.
Yeah.
Okay. And same idea with Lily. Um, and also, I mean, like 7 speed, range one, like Grasp is also a perfectly good defensive card. This is, uh, it's not like it's super inconsistent on defense.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay.
And like if they play, the only thing this is losing to is if they initiate a grasp into you, which you're taking 3 damage, and they probably have to move you anyway, so that's
Right.
good for you.
Sure.
Or if they played focus, which kind of sucks, but then they're down to focus, which as we'll get into this, you'll see that focus is a really important card to play against the league.
Okay. So choosing, you're probably just going to lose to focus with some of these things, but choosing when to lose to it is
Yeah,
an important time, is an important
yeah,
decision. Okay.
yeah. Both halves of focus are very good against the league, so getting them down is a good thing, even if you're going to lose a strike or two.
Right. And to your point, when we were talking about when we were discussing what Lily's gauge economy looks like, and you mentioned like little pieces of chip damage that are pretty consistent. Yeah. 2 damage, 7 speed. Seems like I'm going to be hitting my opponent quite a few times over the course of the game with little things like this.
This card
Um,
is also really important for another reason, which we'll get to when we get to the ultras.
okay. Sounds good. Um, shall we just keep going down the line or do you want to talk boosts as well?
Yeah, let's do the boost.
Sure.
So the boost is point blank. It looks a little weird. I don't know if there's probably other cards in the game that do this. I just can't think of any. Our new has one, but it
Yep.
reduces the minimum range and doesn't increase the maximum. So
Right.
effectively, a card like Spike now hits at 1 to 3 instead of hitting at 2 to 3.
Right. And for Lily, 1 to 4 or 1 to 5.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is probably one of the most that what the most detrimental things to your opponent that you can do with this is you boost this at range 1, and it makes a lot of your other cards hit anyway. But now your Spike is a 4 guard mid speed that hits at 1 to 4 or 1 to 5 that ignores armor and guard.
Yeah, that's pretty tough to trade up against.
Yeah,
So unless you're up against like literally Ryu, who's got Donkey Kick or something, that
yeah,
plays like that might be like a little bit unbeatable.
it's pretty hard to avoid because you can't cross out of it.
Right. and you can't assault in under it either.
Yeah,
Um, so just looking at like the other normals, I don't think really have any sort of benefit to that. But looking at her other specials and just glancing at their range bands, it seems like hair trigger hitting at range 1, mugshot hitting pretty much everywhere, 2 to 5. Bullet barrage is 1 to 6. Magic bullet is 2 to 4. I know that some of these cards have like before effects that move them around,
yeah.
but other than the spike play, are there any cards that I'm particularly using this -2 range boost on?
You might use it on Mugshot. Mugshot's a really weird card that we'll get to. Um, Bullet Barrage is really hard to use close because it's got no guard. Um, Magic Bullet, you also might be able to use it, but Magic Bullet has some really nasty setups already, so usually you don't have to.
Okay.
And then the Wild Bunch is basically a Bullet Barrage, but it's an Ultra, so it's got the same thing.
Okay.
Um,
So really the obvious thing that this telegraphs is spike.
yeah.
Okay.
And while it telegraphs Spike, there really isn't a whole lot that the opponent can do about it because every
Right.
normal except for dive loses to it.
Right.
Um, and if they play dive, unless you're in the corner, or I guess you like right one away from the corner, they're not going to hit you.
Right. And also if they had dive, why wouldn't they tech it? Um
Yeah,
I guess well, unless there's a scarier boost to tech.
yeah,
Glances at her ultra boosts.
uh,
I've seen one.
yeah,
Um I guess expect your opponent to boost power or something to make that spike a little bit dicier, leverage something like a donkey kick and have a
yeah.
plan on a mix up with that kind of counterplay in mind when you boost this maybe.
It's funny. The best way to counter the spike, like the range one spike, is to move back, which is what Lil wants you to do anyway.
Sure. Yeah. So this is like this sort of low key has a push effect printed on the boost.
Somewhat. I mean,
Int-
it just depends on how much you care about getting hit by a spike.
okay. So when we're evaluating excessive force versus point blank, one of them is a range 1 button that we would like to use to make space. The other one seems to be a range 1 button that we kind of sometimes use to make space. They kind of
Yeah,
seem to have kind of overlapping situations where they would be good.
yeah.
Um,
It does a similar thing. It just do you want the opponent to actually move out, or do you want to cash in damage? Is like the difference between the two.
okay. And if you're not at range 1 and you don't have any plans to be at range 1 for the foreseeable future, is this kind of force fodder?
Somewhat. It is a very important card to hold on to because every once in a while you will end up at range one,
Yeah.
just somehow, if your opponent doesn't want to die.
Yeah.
And then you put them right back out, or you put them in a situation where they're going to take free damage.
Yeah. Even not against a zoner like Lily, I feel like the heat map of any given Exceed game is very heavily skewed towards range 1 play. Like
Hmm.
the game just kind of naturally dovetails to that range no matter what people are trying to do just because of how many things put you there. So
Yeah,
holding on to a range 1 button is it doesn't seem like it's ever a bad idea.
yeah, it's not.
Yeah, especially against somebody who is it sounds like the counterplay is going to involve running at them to keep them at range 1 as much as possible.
Yeah, and it's
Okay.
very hard to run Lily down.
Okay. Sounds good.
All
So,
right, so
important card, important
yeah,
boost, possibly. Both sides of this are things we should represent.
yeah.
Okay.
So we had the first card that pushes them out and then makes them uncomfortable at close range. Now we have the second card that does that. Um, It's the cross speed 1 to 2, 2 power, 6 speed. It ignores armor for some reason.
Yeah, that.
I It's very odd, but it does. And then it pushes them 4 spaces.
So this one doesn't lose to every EX, which is kind of funny.
Yeah, it doesn't because you will stun them unless they
That's
have
what
guards.
that ignore armor might be for.
I suppose that's possible. It's just like really hard to even hit them when you get pushed out to range 6.
Right. And that exact same interaction with focus for excessive
Yeah,
force. Like, yeah, all right, you deal 2 into 4 and don't push them instead of 0 into 4, and that's better. But like, that's not like good.
yeah.
Okay,
Um, again, a good card to defend with. You can send them out to range 6 and then just hit them where they can't hit you back. You can play it at range 1, it's a lot less safe, but again, you're going to lose to cross and grasp normally. So if they play grass, they're moving you anyway. If they play cross, they're going out anyway. So it doesn't really matter as much if you lose when you defend with this.
okay. So really, the the use cases of these two cards seem to be almost identical. It's just that one of them gets me farther out, and I'm hoping to play it from slightly farther out.
Yeah.
Okay, and I can kind of pretend ignore armor doesn't really exist on it.
I mean, if you need to get 2 damage in, you need to get 2 damage in.
Sure, if they've got 2 health left, this is a checkmate.
Yeah.
Okay, but otherwise, this is range 2 excessive force.
Yeah.
Okay, makes sense
Um,
to me.
yep. And then the bottom is like the top half of the card, except for it costs force. Um, if you're at range 1, push the opponent 4 spaces. That one they can't focus through because you just push them.
Right, but
Um,
also it means you can't do it on defense the way that you could with double tap.
yeah, it also costs 3 cards because you're paying 2 force and this card.
Right.
Um, so it's not as useful just because it's really expensive. If you really need to get them out, you can do this. But oftentimes it's just better to either move yourself back for almost free with your ability or just play this card.
Yeah, makes sense. Um, how is Lily's like? How real is 2 force for her? Is that a really significant cost, or does she have enough card draw to be able to pay this?
Lily has some really weird card draw. We'll get to it with the next card, but
Okay.
Lily usually either has 0 cards or 7 cards. There's not usually an in between.
So when you were saying a while ago that she tends to go through her deck very, very fast, she's drawing a lot of cards, just maybe not in ways that she can productively use to spend on muzzle flash.
Um, yeah, she effectively has a way to draw 7 cards. She has 4 of them in her deck. Um, so you can go down pretty low and then reload. And usually she'll just start throwing attacks and running her opponent down on resources. She'll run down on resources, and then she'll go back up to 7.
Okay.
Um, so
So if I do need muzzle flash, I can probably afford it. Maybe with an ultra,
yeah,
maybe with a spare bit of
yeah,
force I have lying around. I would prefer not to, just because I'd rather use that ammunition to kill my opponent.
yeah. Especially
Okay.
because you have to usually hit them more than um, the other player, as you're
More than they
seeing.
have to hit me.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I get you. So in terms of our like attack versus boost game, it seems like this card is pretty evenly split between the two. This one we would prefer to use it as an attack.
Um, definitely this one prefer to use as attack. I do think this card is better as an attack
Okay.
because the range is like spike setup or maybe mugshot.
Right.
Um, so like it has to go with another card where it can just be played by itself and be good
Okay.
for its deck.
Sounds good. So
But yeah, this
so
card,
for the most
yeah,
part, we're outside of situations where they're making us pay attention to it. We would prefer to just use these cards as range one, close range defensive brawling tools on a zoner are always in short supply. We should be treating them pretty carefully.
yeah.
Makes sense to me. Okay.
All right. Then we got her actual range attacks, which is pretty much everything else in her kit.
Okay.
Um, we have hair trigger, which is 2 to 6, which is a wild range.
Yeah, that's
That's
crazy.
it's like Akuma's Hadoken, and I don't know of any other cards that are 2 to 6.
Yeah, it's some
Um,
we see a lot of close range fireballs that are 2 to 5,
two to
and
five or 3 to 6.
three to
Yeah,
six is sort of the standard. Yeah, so this is very very consistent, especially at 6 speed.
yeah. On top of that, it does 3 damage, which is more than the other attacks, but it also moves you one as an after,
Right.
um, which is pretty important because if you throw this at range 3, you avoid every normal.
Yeah, yeah. It has uh Tiger Shot, Tidal Whirl, uh properties of a couple characters have things that just sort of turn off the range 3 mix up and every other thing that the opponent can do.
On top of that, if for some reason they choose to cross out of the range 3 mix-up, you still hit them.
Right. Yeah. True. Um,
Um,
is
yeah.
that is that a real thing that people will do against Lily? Like crossing out against a zoner is always kind of a dicey proposition. Um, so should I expect my opponent to do that when they accidentally wild swing into it, or is that something that somebody might try to get out of the way of something?
I mean, depending on your character and the position, people will try anything.
That's
Is it a
fair.
good idea? That's debatable. I
Okay.
imagine usually it happens more often when you wild swing. They wild swing into it against you.
Okay.
If they cross out to 6, unless they have cards that hit there, it basically just gives you the advantage to do almost whatever you want to them.
Whatever you want, sure.
Yeah.
So against most characters, I shouldn't be looking at this card's range band as, oh, cool, I can use it as a range 3 crosscatcher. I should probably be thinking of it as a, oh, cool, I can use this when my opponent is already far away from me.
Yeah, it's also just a very good tool at range 3. If your opponent initiates into you at range 3, unless they also have an above curve option, this card beats almost everything.
Sure. Short of something like a guarded advance like a Tatsu or a very
Yeah,
like maybe a very slow projectile um that has some guard and a very close range band. There's lots of things you can scoot out of the way by moving to
yeah.
uh range 4, sometimes range 2.
And that will have to be on their card, like a card in their deck that's unique to them, because there's
Right,
no
yeah, no
normal can do
normal
it.
can do what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they would have to initiate into you with an EX Assault, and then you would know there's an EX Assault coming because they
Right, yeah.
initiated.
Simply do not play this card then.
Yeah,
Okay, so this is part of my like mid-range offense, or mid-range defense rather. If I have successfully got my opponent out to range, um, do I have better things to do than plink them for 3 damage?
probably. This card is very good at setting up one of your Ultras at range 3. You can play it on defense, set them up to range 4, and then use the Magic Bullet, which is one of your Ultras. It's a
Okay,
very good setup. It's just very good at diffusing a situation where somehow you're at range and you feel uncomfortable. Um, it also is just good to put in your. It's also just good that it's 2 to 6 because of two of your other attacks that actually care about what the range says on your cards in your hand.
I see. Okay, so the fact that there's 6 range on this attack itself might not matter for hair trigger, but there's
Yeah.
some other synergies we're going to get to later.
Mhm.
Makes sense to me.
And then we get to one of her two boosts that are the reason that she usually has no cards in hand or 7.
Right.
Um, because she has a boost called Just Keep Shooting. 3 force, discard your hand, then draw it until you have 6 cards in hand, and then strike.
Okay.
So she can effectively take a bad hand or a hand that doesn't do anything for her, get rid of it, draw a new hand, and immediately strike.
Right. And
Um,
in terms of so 3 force is a lot. Obviously, we can't really like easily pay that with an ultra the way that we could with muzzle flash. Is it tempting to dip into your gauge when you're paying for a boost like this, or because you're already ditching your hand anyway, you're just kind of happy to use it when you don't care about what's in your hand?
I mean, if you have cards in your hand, you might as well use them for this because you're going to get rid of them anyway.
Sure, sure.
But if you don't have enough to pay for it in your hand, you can absolutely use it from your gauge. I mean, like 1 gauge, draw 6 cards and strike is pretty good.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And so I'm planning to use this. Uh, you mentioned I've got a couple different ways to do this. Am I am I planning to use this when my opponent is making me, or is this part of my game plan in general to just continually uh, churn through my deck really fast?
It's a little bit of both. You can either use it on when you're on the back foot to look for an answer. You know, look for your if you're at range 1, look for your explosive force, look for your double tap, look for grasp, look for cross.
Right.
Um, or if you're out at range and you just want to start shooting, you got 10 cards in your deck that hit out pretty far. Your sweep and your spike can also hit out pretty far if you're in exceed mode.
Right.
So if you just don't have anything that hits them, you can play this. And instead of hitting them for 3 damage, you might hit them for, 7 and then also have new cards in your hand.
Okay. So honestly, I can kind of think of it. It doesn't have any range altering properties written on it, but I can kind of think of it like range fixing, where my hand doesn't support the range that I'm currently playing at. I can use this to find something that will support that kind of play.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's almost like a change cards and strike, except for you have to change cards with your whole hand.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. And changing cards in strike, it like shout outs to Big Hand Guile. Like there are
Yeah,
characters that do that as a major part of their game plan, and that is an okay thing to
yeah.
do.
It's a
In
good
terms of
ability.
how you would evaluate this versus Hair Trigger, any thoughts?
I think that hair trigger, it's hard to say. The bottom effect is really, really good. The hair trigger itself is also just a really good attack. It's one of her better like ranged options that it doesn't cost gauge.
Okay.
Bullet barrage and mugshot are decent, but this is like you're going to win. You're going to set yourself up for something else. You can use it on offense or defense. It's almost never bad.
Right. When you say ranged options, are you talking about specifically sort of that range 3 to 4 ish area, or are you talking
Yeah,
about further out as well?
yeah, like three, like 3 to 6, basically.
Okay, makes sense. So kind of, it sounds like this card is despite only doing 3 damage is representing a more important part of our game plan than it might look. So
Yeah,
treat the boost a little bit more carefully than you otherwise would. It seems like
I
hair trigger is kind of important.
yeah. I mean, another way to put it is that whirls are good, right? 2 to 3, usually 3 power, 6 speed, and then move you out of the way. This is a
Definitely.
whirl, but it also hits at range 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah, I mean you can sort of flip the script and ask yourself like how good does a boost have to be for you to give up a card that doesn't lose to any normals?
Mhm.
And the answer is often like too good to be printable. There are a lot of really really strong range 3 buttons that every character is just happy to have.
Mm.
Okay, makes sense to me. So far we're kind of leaning attack heavy. There's some utility boosts that we're looking at, but
Yeah,
and also I'm interested that so far all of these things have been mostly defensive options.
yeah.
Um,
Defensive and low power.
yeah. So this again speaks to the gauge generation thing we talked about a second ago. I will often not only be getting gauge when I throw things at my opponent, but I'll probably be getting gauge fairly consistently on their turn too.
Mm.
Okay. And when I'm defending, doing something that is going to set up my turn later on. Is this part of like a Lily play pattern? Are you often sitting at range and saying like hit me because you know that you have things that are going to be really difficult to deal with, or are you kind of more proactive than that and striking often from range as well?
You can do both. She has some really strong cash out options from range. Um, and a lot of the time, it just almost feels like the opponent can't do anything if they try and fight her out there
Okay.
because you have hair trigger, which beats pretty much any non-guarded projectile. Double tap and explosive force beat most close range things. So it's like striking into her without any sort of upper hand really feels like an upward battle.
Okay. So it's and also I mean the fact that my opponent is going to do other things to stop me. They're going to boost up. They're going to do whatever scary thing that they can do. It's not enough to just sit at range and say hit me. But it might mean that having cards like this might mean that they just won't be able to strike into me freely, and that can be
Mm.
beneficial too.
Yeah, a
Okay.
lot of the time, the way that Lily loses is just having a point at which she either doesn't have an answer, which does happen sometimes, or the opponent, manages to get a situation where they call a 50-50 right, and then you end up taking like 6 to 8 damage,
Right.
where
Right.
you calling it right does like three
There's
or
two or
four.
three.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. That makes sense. Um, how about mugshot?
Love Shot's a really weird card. I like this card. It's just very odd to understand.
Yeah, we
This
might need
card,
to let's move
yeah.
some cards so we can talk about some board states here really quick.
So this card doesn't generally hit at range 4 to 5, even though it says 4 to 5 on the card.
Right.
Um, before move 4 spaces, which I believe in modern templating is before advance or retreat 4 spaces,
Right.
um, is mandatory. You
Yeah,
can't
not
not do it.
optional. Definitely. Right.
Right.
Sure. So, in
So
fact, it cannot hit. at
Yeah,
exactly the things at exactly the ranges where it says it hits.
yeah. You can make it hit at range 4 and 5. If you're in the corner and you're at range 4 and 5, you can just move back and
You
it won't
retreat
hit.
into the corner, sure.
Yeah. But this is another weird mid speed that actually is meant to be played at like really far out or really, really far in.
Okay,
Because if you play it at range 1 here, then you move 4 spaces back, and now you're at range 5.
right.
And you dodge the sweep or the focus or whatever, which is the mix up, right? Like if they play focus to beat double tap or excessive force, then you can play mugshot to oh, you can
Oh,
play
sure,
mugshot.
because this moves you instead of moving the
Yeah,
opponent. Okay.
yeah,
And
uh,
obviously also if the opponent is if you found yourself in this situation, obviously you have cross.
yeah,
But uh but double tap doesn't work as a way to push the opponent out anymore. Excessive force doesn't work anymore.
yeah,
I should be just backing up in this situation. But if
yeah.
I
I
need to
mean,
attack with something, I have mugshot that I can use
yeah,
to run away.
attack or defend, you know.
Right.
And the other thing a mugshot can do that's these cards don't is that if you're in the corner and your opponent's like, all right, I'm gonna sweep you. Now you can go 1, 2, 3, 4, and you're out of the corner and their sweep misses.
Okay, so these can be used to dodge the sweep by pushing, which is cool. But if you're in the corner, you're giving your opponent the board, and you're still cornered.
Yeah,
Mugshot is a way to dodge a sweep while also giving you more room
yeah,
to run away if you need it, and
yeah,
giving you control of the center of the board.
yeah. And if they're cornered, you can move back too and stuff.
Right. Right.
Um,
Okay. Okay.
it also makes it so like if weird situations happen where you're here, you can move in 4 and hit them.
Right.
Um,
She doesn't
like
actually have anything that is like full board. It looks
yeah,
like she caps out at about 6.
yeah. I mean, she can hit full board with one of her ultra boosts, but yes. Um,
Okay. So in situations where oh right, yeah, I know the ultra boost.
yeah,
In situations where she's completely on the other side, like this is a pretty rare board state in modern Exceed, but Red
yeah,
Horizon and Seventh Cross Days were a little bit weird. She does have something she can do just without any other setup with Mugshot
yeah.
here. Okay. Okay.
And you can just use this card to move in general. This is effectively a move for one card during a strike. Um, if you don't get stunned, you get to move 4.
Okay. So if I'm up against an even scarier zoner, somebody who I actually do want to make space on, I can kind of treat this like the way that Zangief treats dive, where
Yeah,
he uses it to move in to make up some space, or use it to get out of the corner. Even if I'm not planning to hit with it, having the movement itself could be useful to capitalize with something else.
yeah. You can play this at range 3 to move out or move over them or whatever.
Sure, sure, okay. It's kind of like
It's
an
also
empty cross, but
yeah.
with more movement on it.
Um, it also this card also can be used like that. I guess I didn't mention where you can just use the after move 1 space to dodge something.
Sure.
Like if you're at range, like even if you're not going to hit them or like it's not going to stun them, you can always just throw it to move out of the way.
Right. This card's range band is so big that we sort of neglected to talk about that possibility because you probably are just going to hit. But I guess if you throw it here and they respond with spike, you're like, okay, and
Yeah,
you've moved in, but you dodged what they're doing.
yeah. But yeah, Mugshot's a decent card. It's got 4 power, which is more than most of our other cards.
Yeah, that's that. You hit with that, you've dealt 2 whole strikes worth of value
Yeah,
for what we've seen so far.
yeah. And then much like the other two, where they kind of are for the same situation, we have the boost on this somersault, which is just move 5 spaces for one
Right.
force. Um, it's also useful. You can get out of the corner. You can retreat. You can move in. You can do whatever you want. It
Yeah,
has to be 5 spaces.
you can get way out of the corner. You
Yeah,
can get very very far with a move 5. Um, does the lack of the up to text on this card matter very often?
it can. Sometimes again, like sometimes you're here and you want to be here, but you don't want to be here.
Right. Sure. Okay.
Um, and you don't want to strike because then you give it back to your opponent after they get to play a card too.
Right. Okay. Okay. But using it to run away, you often
Yeah.
want to run far away. So
Mhm.
if you're using it to get out of a corner or something like that, you probably would be
Yeah.
using if there was a move up to 5, you'd probably be using it for the full movement, the full distance anyway.
Yeah, getting out of the corner is like the most important thing this card can do.
Okay.
Um,
That makes sense.
you don't have to risk them playing focus. You know exactly what's going to happen. You don't risk them like defending with an EX grasp for one of these or something.
Right. How do you evaluate somersault versus mugshot?
I think they're almost about even.
Yeah.
Mugshot's a decent attack. It's definitely not unbeatable. It's one of her more fair cards, I guess, comparatively anyway.
Right.
Um, it just is like a mid speed basically that dodges slows, which is
Sure.
what a mid
It
speed is.
and it seems like it's something that you kind of need to do to or you need to represent so that your opponent won't just play focus
Yeah,
into things like this at range 1.
yeah. Getting dodging their focus by playing this is probably one of the best things that can happen for you as Lily because they're
Okay.
down to
Yes.
focus. They didn't hit you. You still got the gauge. You still hit them. You're back out of range.
Yeah. You have everything you want. They can't that's one focus that you don't have to worry about anymore. You're in your position. Um so all of those things are awesome. Also, you can do this on defense, very similar to
Yep,
everything else that we talked about. But being able to do it guaranteed without
yep,
any strike interactions might be its own reward if you just cannot find a way to get out uh, with its mid speed dodge properties.
yep.
Okay, that makes sense to me.
All right. Then we
These are
got
cards
bullet.
that we've actually talked about. You've referenced Bullet Barrage a bunch of times here.
Yeah,
Um, so tell me a little bit about it.
bullet barrage is one of her. I don't know if it's her best way, but it is one of her damage catch outs. It's a 3 to 6, so it's that normal projectile range that we talked about.
Sure.
Um, it's 4 speed and 3 power, so like under what you'd want for its power, and its speed is on curve effectively for that for that kind of fireball shape, like around what most of them are speed at.
Yeah,
Um,
the classic. Ignore the critical text, but the classic
yeah,
Hadouken shape of 3 to 6 4 4.
yeah. It does, however, have an extra thing on it, which says hit. You may discard up to 2 additional attacks that include your range to your opponent for +2 power each.
Okay.
So you can pay 2 force to make it 7 power effectively.
Yeah, 2 force or 2 power per force is also a very strong rate.
Yes, it's very
That
good.
that's economically that's better than we would expect by actually a pretty big margin for for a Rekka effect like this.
Now, if it was just 2 force for 2 power each, then it would be a lot better. You
Right.
have to discard a card that has the range,
Right.
which usually is going to be your specials or ultras if you're really far out. However, and this is something to note, your normals also have longer ranges, and those ranges apply even when the card is not the striker play.
Sure. Yeah, it doesn't say printed range. It says range.
Mm.
So I'm exceeded Lily, I'm out at range 5 and I discard a sweep.
Yeah, or a
Or a
spike,
spike. That
whatever.
works.
Mm.
Okay, okay.
Um, that's why I was saying that hair trigger is really good because hair trigger covers the whole 3 to 6
Right.
for
Right. Yeah,
damage.
there's no situation in which I couldn't play this. Does that also mean that if I throw point blank at range, well, does that also mean for the purposes we can skip ahead for the purposes of resolving this rules question, does it also mean that if I spend taking aim, if I have taking aim in play, I can kind of discard anything I want?
Yes.
Okay. Viewers, forget that we showed this boost ahead of time. We'll
We'll
talk
get
about
there.
it in a second.
Yeah.
But there is a 3 on the range there.
Yeah.
Um,
Um, but yeah, it's good. You can cash out with it. It does use a lot of cards, but as you said, you go up, you use this, you hit them, then you just reload with one of the boosts that reloads your hand, and you keep going.
right. Yeah, this is a good time to use just keep shooting, for example. If I, excuse me, um, if I am hitting with this, am I pretty much intending to spend the full 2 force to do it?
Sometimes, I mean, if it's gonna hit a break point, then definitely.
Right,
It depends, right? Like you're doing this, and you give up the option that you were going to have that hit at that range as well because you basically don't have it anymore, and the
right,
card has to hit at the range that you're at now in order to get the extra damage.
right.
Um, so you got to think: can I give up this option and still have another defensive option or offensive option, depending on if you're playing it as an offense or defense?
Okay. So
And is it worth it?
if I play it at range 3 and my opponent is responding with sweep, like yes, the answer is always yes. There's basically no situation where I wouldn't want to stun that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I am like 5 might be enough uh, to make up the damage values that I've been lacking on my other cards. And I don't need the full 7. But
Yeah, and
would I typically kind of like if I did have another defensive option in play ready to go and a way to reload?
oh,
Would you be
absolutely.
you'd be comfortable just cashing out with a full 7 because I'm not going to get my damage elsewhere very easily?
Yeah, I mean, there is one other thing for damage that we'll get to, but yeah,
Sure, definitely.
yeah,
Right. But just
I'd be
looking at
comfortable doing that.
yeah, looking at all the cards we've seen so far, 7 is more than all of them. I am going to need to find my damage where I can with Lily, it sounds
Yeah,
like.
yeah.
Okay. That makes sense to me.
All right, and then
How about reload?
does what the card says. You
I
reload.
was about to say, what we use this for?
You discard your hand, and then you draw until you have 6, so you have 7 at the end of it because you draw at the end of your turn.
Okay, so almost identical, except with more cards and less striking than just keep shooting.
Yeah. You end up with 5 cards and having struck with this one, and you end up with 7 cards, but without striking with this one.
Okay,
This one's also a little easier to play because it's one less force.
right. You could just spend an ultra on it.
Yeah.
Again, though, you don't need to because you're discarding your hand anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like again, you go down to like 1, maybe 2 cards, and then you play this, and then uh, you reload your hand, and you keep going.
Right. Are there any? So this is something that comes up a couple times when we have things that are like discard and draw effects. Are there any? Sometimes you run into situations where you have a mixed bag of a hand, right? Where you got a couple things that you would really like to keep. You have a couple things that you don't care at all about. Are there any cards that Lily has that, or any situations that Lily can find herself in, I guess, where you have some advice about when it would be okay to get rid of a good card by playing reload? Any heuristics you use for that sort of question?
I think that you put the same ideologies that you do for mulliganing. Obviously, you're actually discarding the card, but where if this card is not useful to me right now, I could hold on to it. But if I take 8 damage holding on to this rather than doing something else, was it worth it?
Right. Right. Okay. So, and if it is useful to me right now, the revolutionary play of do the useful thing and then and then boost reload.
Yeah.
I can just do that and not have to worry about it at all. But if it is like, you know, 2 horrible cards and 1 pretty good card, and there's no opportunity to use the pretty good card right now, and I need to do something, this might be a productive play, and I would be okay to get rid of a decent card.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you do that with change cards too, where like you'll just get rid of a good card because you need something else right now. And this
Sure.
is a little better than change cards.
I guess the feeling is different for a change cards action because I get to choose. Um, and this is a discard your hand effect.
Yeah.
But the principle still applies just as much that
Mm.
I would be okay with it as a change card. So why am I being precious with the card when I just discard the hand?
Yep.
In terms of, so obviously I would use this one when I want to strike. I'd use this one when I want to reload. That seems pretty self-explanatory.
Yep.
Are you often, boosting this every chance you get as Lily, or is Bullet Barrage just an important enough source of damage that you kind of need it often?
I think they're about even though you do need damage, Lily. Being able to get a new hand is really important if you want to be able to hold that advantage over your opponent and make sure you have a card that makes it so they can't do anything.
Okay. And
Being able to
the
cash out damage is important to win, so both are
Sure.
good.
Sure. And I guess way back when we were talking about excessive force, I made the point that the attack and the boost seem to cover fairly overlapping situations. They're both things that you would use in close range situations. This attack and this boost actually seem to cover pretty different situations. You would use Bullet Barrage when you have plenty of resources and would like to be able to um, use them to convert them to damage. You would use Reload when you need more resources.
Yeah, it's
So
one of
the situation itself seems like it would help lead me to what side of this card I would prefer.
yeah, it's also one of the common things of that the boost is very good with the attack.
Exactly. Yeah, that's actually why I remarked on excessive force being slightly weird. That they seem to be doing uh, fairly similar tasks for the kid. So
Mhm.
this decision does not seem like it will be hard to make in the moment. I'm going to use the one that I need to use.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
And that's the specials. Shall we
Yeah.
talk
Yeah.
the big scary red cards?
Let's do this one first because this is effectively Bullet Barrage, which is with red numbers on it.
Yeah. With okay. Those are larger numbers.
Yeah. So the Wild Bunch is effectively just Bullet Barrage. It's the same stat line except for it costs 3 gauge, and you can discard 3 cards instead of 2, and they hit for 3 extra power each. So this
And
can hit for 12.
that's crazy. Yeah, that's a Red Horizon Ultra right there.
Yeah.
That's those are the numbers I was waiting for. When we weren't talking about things in double digits, I was wondering what season we were in.
Uh-huh. This attack is very good. It's one of her prime cash outs. Typically, the best thing that can happen with this card is you boost with reload, you get a full hand. This is a good option. You play it, and then you hit them for 12.
Right. Yeah, that's game winning. And you do have at that point, like if you have one of the normals that you're discarding to afford it is sweep, you're not sad. Like
Yeah,
you're gonna get your 12 damage any way that you can.
yeah. It's a good card. Um, it's also pretty easy to set up. Getting your opponent out to like 3, 4, or 5 and throwing this when they're all out of cards to do anything to you happens a lot just because they use a lot of their resources dealing with your other stuff.
Right. So this is the same thing I could have asked about Bullet Barrage, but now that I'm really interested in dealing 12 damage, I feel like I should ask now. So the further out I am, the less likely it is that my opponent's going to have anything that they can do to stop me. Many characters don't have any buttons at all that can even hit at range 6.
Yeah,
But if I'm at range 6, there are going to be fewer cards in my deck that I can actually use to spend on this, right?
yeah.
Um, does that does that mean that most of the time when I'm playing it in the in the 3 to 5 range?
Yeah. The only things that you can throw to add to the Wild Bunch at 6 are, by base without like a boost or anything, are Bullet Barrage, and Hair Trigger, and a copy of itself. Your
Right,
normals can't get to 6; they can only get to 5.
right.
Um, with your ability, you can use the boost on the other card that we'll get to, but um, so that means that you have to either discard 2 Hair Triggers, 2 Bullet Barrages, your other copy of Wild Bunch. So like good cards.
Sure. And
If you're
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, if you're at range 4 or 5, you can start chucking normals into the mix. Um, if you're exceeded, focus, spike, sweep, cross, all can be
Yeah,
used.
basically anything but the things that have a 1 printed on them, which is a lot
Yeah.
of cards and block, I guess.
Um, and then mugshot can now be used. You could use Magic Bullet, but Magic Bullet is a very special card.
Yeah, that's something that we
Um,
might want to save for another reason.
yeah,
So when I use this card, it's not going to be so. I guess. Hang on. Is it going to be so difficult to find ammunition to throw into the wild bunch at relevant ranges that I would prefer to use this when I'm exceeded, so that I will have more things that hit at the ranges I'm at? Or can I kind of just throw this when it's going to work?
it's a lot easier when you're exceeded, but that's 6 gauge.
Yeah.
Six gauge isn't impossible on volley, and often you'll actually get there. It's
Okay.
just not going to happen early.
Sure. Okay. So this might be a game closer rather than a
Yeah,
progress maker in that
and
case.
usually when you're closing with it, your opponent doesn't have answers anyway because they used them all.
They ran
So
out. Sure.
yeah,
Sure. So if I am in a situation where I can hit this early on and deal 9 instead of 12 without having exceeded first, I'm going to take it, right?
Yeah,
I'm not going to be like, well, I could hit for more later on and have a more guaranteed payout. Damage is damage. I'll take what I can take.
yeah. 3 gauge
But
for 9 damage is pretty solid.
absolutely, yeah, even in Red Horizon days. But if I can wait, and if the situation presents itself in the late game, this is just much easier and smoother to do.
Yeah, it's much easier to smoother to do at range 4.
Right.
Um, yeah,
Okay. And I mean, the difference between range 4 and range 5, I feel like for the purposes of like how difficult zoning is in Exceed in general, like that could to me that I feel like that could matter. That it's
mm,
a if you're in certain board states, like if you are cornered, and zoners often spend time cornered, opponents will probably be spending more time here than here, for example.
mm,
Um, so if you're going to hit it at range 5, you might be doing it fairly opportunistically, like specifically after you hit them with double tap or something,
yeah.
because they won't stand there willingly.
Yeah. The other thing is that um, if you're at range 1 and you're like in the corner, you play excessive force on defense. You push them out to 4,
Right,
and then double tap if you're at range 1 goes to 5 or 6.
right, right.
So like the 4 and the 5 are like the ranges that you're most commonly going to find them at, because that's where you can reset them to the most.
Sure, right. And the difference between those two, they might have a dive that can get back in, so you would need to initiate rather than defend with this. At range 5, some characters might not have anything.
Yeah.
So Wild Bunch is literally basically free, but would be much harder to pump up without your Exceed mode.
Mm,
Okay, so there's kind of an interesting resource tension there, but again, damage is damage, and we're going to use this where we can.
yeah.
Makes sense to me.
All
How
right.
about suppressing fire?
This is one of the strangest boosts in the game that really can't be printed again. Um, so each time the opponent moves, they take 1 damage for space moved. This damage is not stun. This is like a damage type that doesn't exist anywhere else in the game,
Right.
because usually any damage outside of a strike is non-lethal damage unless it's like something very specific that is completely avoidable to your opponent. I think Wolf Trap is the one where you
Yep.
can take 2
Yep.
damage.
Yep. Or take a they can't move or take 2 damage.
Yeah.
Yeah, unbeheaded.
Uh-huh. And like otherwise that like force damage outside of strikes doesn't really exist, or it's non-lethal. This
Right.
is not non-lethal. It also can't stun, where non-lethal damage can stun. So it's like a weird mix of the two. Um yeah.
So
It's
in terms of what this does to my opponent, they can't take the move action without taking damage. They can't dive in without taking damage. But by taking damage when they dive in, the dive will still happen as long as they're still alive.
yeah. The other thing is that this boost makes double tap do 6 damage.
Oh, true. Right. Yeah. When you push them back out, they're also taking damage for it. That's interesting.
Yeah.
All
You
right.
can boost with this. If your opponent doesn't move or doesn't strike you, you can then boost with this guy. Um, to then just do 4 damage to them because with the boost.
Right. Or 5 with excessive force. Okay. Or actually, I guess 4 with muzzle flash if you wanted to.
Oh yeah, that's what I meant. With like the boost deals damage to them, and you haven't even struck, which means this doesn't go away yet.
Got it. Okay. And then you strike afterward again and
And they have to move back in or just get hit by something for free. Yeah,
right. Okay. So you actually can it's not damage outside of a strike is rare enough that we don't really have a word for this, but it's like you're sustaining the boost with a strike that they can't respond
yeah,
to when you play muzzle flash. That's very weird.
yeah.
Um
It's really funky.
are these curiosities, or is this like a real play that Lily will make to make progress in a game?
This boost is really good for getting chip damage. If you had a boost on an ultra that just said your opponent takes 3 damage, you'd probably play it.
Yeah, yeah. Free damage is basically the metric is like the measurement by which I've won a strike. Right?
Yeah,
Like if I get grasp into my opponent's assault, for example, I've won by 3. That's pretty good.
yeah. It
Um
doesn't give you gauge, but you don't have to really risk anything. I mean,
Right.
you have to move them or something, or like you boost it when they're a range 8, or you basically have to boost it at a range where you threaten another option,
Sure,
because
sure.
otherwise they can just like wild swing into you if you can't hit them.
Right. Right. And hope they don't run into a dive or something.
Yeah,
Um,
I've seen this happen that they were at range like 4, and this is boosted, and they just wanted to get rid of it. Someone wild swung. They wild swung into a cross. Um,
and then they lost the game on the spot.
yeah, they got sent back out as far as they could. They just took 3 free damage and lost their cross to get back in.
Ugh. Yeah, that is like crossing against Sagat levels of unrecoverable. I
Yeah.
feel like that's very bad. Um, so this is a strong boost. I'm happy to use it basically whenever I can uh, force the opponent to take some damage with it, which it seems like is fairly often. If they're at range 1,
Yeah.
I can muzzle flash them. If they're far out and want to move back in, they're going to have to take the damage regardless. Um, uh, it seems like if I just don't have the gauge or the positioning or the ammunition to play the wild bunch, am I just kind of going to default to suppressing fire?
Maybe. I mean, it depends. Like, you have to have them out at a range and then be able to threaten them. Again, they can just wild swing into you if you have no cards in hand, because you
Right,
probably won't be able to hit them anyway.
right. So I do need this isn't enough of a threat on its own for my opponent to just respect it. I do need something that is going to make them need to come back in.
Yeah. Or
Okay,
have a tech or something. Like, if you boost this at range 5 and you have like 3 cards in your hand, your opponent probably is going to think you have an option, even if you don't. And
right,
then their options are either strike and hope that they win or just don't take a lot of damage.
right,
Attempt to defuse it, so they use attack, or they draw cards or something. If they move to defuse it, they just take free damage. And if they pass it back to you, you can just prepare and keep the pressure up.
right. Okay, makes sense. And then in situations where Wild Bunch is good, what are we talking about? Yes, I'll deal 12.
Yeah,
Okay. Again, so kind of a slightly easier situation to, or a slightly easier evaluation to make because the situation is going to guide me towards it. Um, this is also an ultra. It's also worth 2 force. There are a lot of things in Lily's kit that cost some money. Um, is this a card that I am often going to be spending as force?
you can. I mean, it costs 3 gauge. The boost is good, but it is situational. So if you need to reload because the card doesn't do anything for you, which can definitely happen, discarding it to pay for a reload or just keep shooting after playing the other cards in your hand that actually do stuff is
Right.
fine.
Okay. Okay. And I mean, again, we've talked about, I feel like there's a reason that we're saving this for last. Of our ultras, would we prefer to spend this one as force?
Yes,
Okay. As with that as our segue, shall we talk about the magic bullet?
we shall. But I shall bring out. I'm going to need my buddy Sagat here to help us with this card.
Oh dear.
So I'm gonna put these next to each other. Um, this is a better Tiger Destruction. And
Famously bad ultra tiger destruction. This does not
yeah.
need a better version. This card's amazing.
Um, so this have you done a Sagat lesson yet?
No. I've well, kind of actually. Long story, but before Excess Exceed happened, um, the inspiration for excuse me, the inspiration for Excess Exceed was my friend Blue teaching me about Sagat.
Oh, Blue's a great Sagat. That's
Yeah,
mostly where I learned from.
really looking forward to the official
Yeah.
version of that lesson to come full circle. But yeah,
Yes.
I know all about Tiger Destruction.
Yeah, Tiger Destruction, notoriously good ultra, very good cost, very good stats, everything. This is almost all the time a better Tiger Destruction.
Okay,
Um,
that's messed up.
yeah. So Tiger Destruction hits at 3 and 4 and can do some weird things when you're in the corner. But the
Right.
Magic Bullet hits at 4.
Yep.
So you can think of it as kind of that. They're the same cost. Magic Bullet is actually faster. So it's range 4, 7 power, 7 speed. Very good card. This card
Yeah.
can have no other text on it, and it would still be a good ultra because it's really easy to set this up as Lily. As we mentioned before, at range 1, you can defend with excessive force and then play this. And the excessive force is half the gauge cost of the magic bullet.
So if you have 1 gauge,
Yeah,
basically, this is virtually guaranteed.
Yeah, you defend with this, you go to 2, you play the magic bullet, and then it's really hard for them to do anything because there's no normals that beat the magic bullet, and there's not even a lot of specials that beat it either.
Right.
Um,
You
if
could
the
you
opponent,
you could mugshot close up.
yeah, you could mugshot close up and go over them so that you're a range 4. Or I guess you go over them to go to range 4. You could double tap if they're going to be get pushed into the corner to set them up at range 4.
You could hair
Um,
trigger at 3.
yeah, you can hair trigger at 3 or 5 to set it up. Um,
And all of these are stable and consistent defensive options. Maybe not mugshot,
yeah,
but these are all things that you are thinkable. Like it is a thinkable play to do on defense, so that you can immediately follow up with the magic bullet. Also, this just means that your opponent can't strike into you at range 4 basically ever.
yeah. As long as you have 2 gauge, it's a you win button.
Yeah,
And two
I
gauge is
mean,
not hard to win.
shout outs to Maylin,
Yeah.
who does this actually beat Rygenoth? Does
Yes,
Rygenoth
it
have
does.
6 speed?
Rajanath is 6 speed.
I can't believe Maylin is a terrible character who has nothing going on for her because she has a card that gets beaten by an ultra.
Yeah. Um, yeah. It's a card.
So
Um,
this does have other text on it,
yes, it does. I was gonna say that could be gone. This card be good, but it has
right?
other text, which says if this is used as a wild swing or you have no other cards in your hand, the range of this attack becomes 2 to 6.
Okay. So
Um, yeah.
I mean, am I? How do I put this? Is it more feasible to set up a situation where this is the last card in my hand than it is to set up a situation where I'm at range 4 and able to strike? Because honestly,
Um,
it seems like Lily has more ability to control her opponent's position than she does to control her hand contents
yeah.
easily.
It's definitely easier to hit at range 4. It's not actually that hard to have no cards in your hand because the Wild Bunch and the Bullet Barrage also can just chuck cards.
Right. I guess the problem there is that you would prefer to have one card in hand after you've played the magic bullet and it's reload, right? So that you can
Yeah.
do something else. But having literally no cards in hand actually really limits my ability to get cards back.
What usually you want to do with that is not have it be like um I want to go into my turn with no cards in my hand. It's more of like I can actually discard cards for these two and go into my opponent's turn with the magic bullet being the only card in my hand. So that way that no matter what they do, I can defend myself and then on the next turn draw cards.
Okay. All right. So similar to they can't strike into you at range 4 when you have 2 gauge. If you have one card in your hand, they can't strike into you basically at all if you have 2
Yeah,
cards at
range 2 to 6.
2 gauge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unless they're specifically calling you out with actual focus, which again is an important card to use against Lily.
And there they call you out with focus. If it's at range 3+, they don't hit you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really messed up. Um how about its wild swing text? Is Lily a wild swinger at all?
Nope, and that's just icing on the cake. You happen to wild swing this randomly when you wild swing, and maybe you kill somebody.
Okay. So I'm not planning ever to set that up. But if I've got a couple cards left in deck and I know one of them is the magic bullet, I'm like, well, let's gamble. And these is pretty good return on investment for a wild swing.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's all awesome. Um, it would be a real shame if the boost on this card was really scary or something because I really want to play this ultra. Tell me a little bit about taking aim. God, that's such a big range band.
It basically says your attacks hit at almost any range and they're faster because
Yep,
it needed that. Your
yep.
your sweep hits the whole board if you boosted this and you're exceeded.
Yeah, that's it, literally the whole thing, basically.
Yeah, I that's why I said she can hit at range 8.
Right.
It's just this and sweep in exceed mode. Um, And for some reason, it's speed 3, so if your opponent somehow hits you with a spike from that range, you're faster than them, or I guess you win the speed tie if you initiate.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, the boost is good. Um, it basically lets you hit with grass from any range that matters, which is like one of the best defensive options. Um, your spike almost hits the whole board too, so they can't even block something when they're that far out. It applies to your specials too. So you can boost with this and hit them with excessive force or double tap from further away to just really push them out.
Right.
The other ones don't really matter as much because it's like, all right, I guess I'm gonna hit you at range 8 instead of range 5 or 6, and that's like, all right, then you have to spend the magic bullet to do that.
Yeah, and we just got done talking about how, man, I would not want to spend the magic bullet if I didn't have to.
Yeah, I
Um,
I actually don't find myself boosting with this like ever. It's just that the bottom part is crazy, but the top part is so good,
yeah.
and she doesn't really need the range bonus that it doesn't do as much for her as other characters.
Okay. So if I'm
Like
in a
it is,
situation where the opponent is making me, uh, for some reason, need the extra range, and the extra speed, this is here for me. But if everything were even and my opponent was just a training dummy, magic bullet every time.
yes,
Okay, that makes sense. I'm trying to think of any other interactions that this would enable. I guess range one dive is on the table.
yeah, you can
Um,
already do that in Exceed mode with Lee.
oh right, yeah, you don't need the full three. You can do it
Yeah,
with just two.
yep.
Um, and I think I have to revisit. There's a joke in the Breakfast Club server that uh because of Cammy and Axel, the 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 character identity, the mechanical character identity for being British in Exceed is being able to hit with range one dive. I can't believe that Lily is unless she's British too, I'm not sure. But
Does that
doesn't seem like it.
does that
Uh,
mean that Tager is partially British?
yes. Yeah, that's the extension of the joke exactly. That anybody who can almost do it or can do it sometimes is either temporarily or half British.
Mhm.
Um yeah, welcome to the Exceed community, ladies and gentlemen. So I don't need this to do Lily things, and in fact, one of the Lily things I would really prefer doing is playing the Magic Bullet. But this
Yeah,
is a range fixer and speed fixer if I really need it.
yeah. I mean, if you're boosting with this, you're in a tight spot, or you absolutely need to confirm something. Because if you're boosting this, then the magic bullet doesn't handle it, and the magic bullet handles a lot of things.
Handles basically anything
Yeah,
at range four, and maybe other ranges if you can set it up.
yeah.
Okay, okay,
Like I could see you maybe boosting this into like Axel or New 13.
right. Where you need to contest range against somebody who actually has like crazy big hitboxes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So our it sounds like then our general game plan is actually pretty simple, which is get the opponent to like mid-range ish or greater. Um build some gauge, be safe, chip away at them, build some resources, and then find a way to cash out with one of these. Keep our hand topped up with our reload boosts as we go, and just control the board and do things that are very difficult for our opponent to deal with.
Yeah, that's a very good description of it.
Okay, that all makes sense. Honestly, yeah, this does sound like the sort of zoner lifestyle. Um, before we talk counterplay, I typically want to ask a little bit about economy, which we've sort of already talked a little bit about. Um, do we have any like dedicated cards that we would prefer to spend as force if we need to, or any other sort of economic considerations about like where our gauge is like earmarked for, anything like that?
I mean, most of your cards are useful, which means that it feels bad to spend them half the time. But because all of your cards are useful, other than like the magic bullet, you can
Right.
just spend them to do what you need to do, and the other cards will still be useful.
You'll probably draw into something else when you're changing cards that is also useful.
Yeah.
Okay. Um,
Um,
so I also sometimes when you have characters, I've noticed just a lot of things that make Lily very hard to strike into in a season with not very much action compression. Right, Red Horizon is not known for move and strike type
yeah.
effects. If I'm at range with Lily, my opponent, I can kind of rely on my opponent either boosting or moving in. Can I sometimes just prep? Like, is that like when I'm at range? Is that something that I'm like? I know they won't strike into me because I'm scary to strike into at range. I will just get some more cards. Is that a real play pattern, or do I need to press the advantage when I have it as Lily?
You can do that. I mean, usually your opponent can't beat you at range. So unless they have move and strike, which season 7 has, there's some in season 2,
Right.
a few in the other seasons, but like
It's like
they're
shout
not.
outs to like literally Natali. I think is like one of the only characters who has it in Red Horizon.
Um, Reese has a really weird one where he
Oh,
and
and
the
obviously
opponent.
Ulrich.
Yeah,
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 Mr. Move and Strike himself. I'm thinking of like specifically boosts.
yeah. It's funny. Lily and Ulrich were the two starter characters when Exceed came out. I remember going to, I think it was PAX, and those are like the two characters that they gave you when you came to their booth,
Oh, that's
which
cool.
is very funny that the Move and Strike is really good against Lily, and that's the character that she's paired with.
Right. So I going back to the idea about like prepping at range and sort of having an economic punish to getting to range. Is it hard enough to make space as Lily that I really should be just shooting when I have the opportunity? Or I mean, I'm seeing a lot of ways to push my
Yeah,
opponent out or to retreat myself. Um, how how opportunistic do I have to be with my damage?
usually for a lot of Exceed, it's the situation of you want to get to the range you want to be at, and then you want to capitalize on it. And
Right.
it's kind of hard to do both of those typically. With Lily, you have a lot of ways to get them out, and your damage capitalization is a little more difficult because you have like 3 cards that actually do damage in your kit,
Right.
and 2 of them are ultras.
Right.
So you don't need to capitalize as much because it's not as hard to keep them out there. And also, they're usually going to be using more resources than you are to try and get back into a position where they can do something.
Okay.
Like, even if it's a season 7 character that can cancel slash, like move in 3 and then do something, they're
Right.
spending a card from their hand, they're spending a gauge, and then they have to spend another card or something to do something else. That's 3 cards.
Right.
You spend 1 attack on defense to push them out to range 4 and get a gauge.
Right. And that attack wasn't guaranteed, but it's pretty close to guaranteed sometimes. I mean,
Yeah,
range 3
and it's
grasp
like,
is not going to lose to anything.
yeah, range 3 grasp, or if they beat, your fast that pushed them out, they're either playing their focus, which means that's gone, or
Right.
they played a fast that usually gets you space anyway.
Right. Right. Fair. Okay. Um all right, so I can prep if I need to at range. I have lots of reload boosts. I can spend, with the exception of the magic bullet, almost anything I need to and rely on the fact that what I'm going to get is going to be good enough to work with. Any
Yeah,
other economic considerations as I guess I have the rebate on movement for my
yeah.
retreat costs too.
Your retreating is cheaper, as I said. A lot of the time, you're going to retreat 1. Sometimes
Right.
you'll retreat more than 1, but like being able to stand at 3 or 4 is the best. If your opponent runs up to range 1, you can move to 2 and you're still fine. Um, so maybe you're spending 1/4. Um, it's it's a good ability, the move back for free.
Right.
And if your opponent's running you down, they're going through their deck faster than you are, basically.
Right. Okay. Okay. Sure. And options will be falling that you can use to find holes in your opponent's defenses and hit with, I don't know, Wild Bunch, Magic Bullet, Sweep, Spike,
Yeah.
the big damage dealers that you've been waiting for.
Hmm.
Okay. That makes sense. Excuse me. Other big question I've got is about the normals. We already talked quite a bit about how like stapling range on them just makes them really strong. And it seems like, these two in particular are going to be a big deal because they are consistent high damage cards in a kit that mostly lacks them. But the normal boosts and normal attacks, am I thinking about them in any particular way? Are there any rules of thumb I can use about how to treat my normals when I see them?
Grasp is one of the like polarizing cards in the normals because it's extra damage, which is important because you don't have a lot of it.
Right.
And you can staple it on anything, and it's really easy to confirm certain attacks. But it's also a really easy to confirm attack that gets you out of a lot of bad situations.
Right.
So it's like, do I use it to get out of the bad situation, or do I use it to start winning the game?
Sure. I have so many above curve options in hair trigger. I mean, the wild bunch is, I don't know if it needs to hit for 9. But
Yeah.
other normals that I can use to consistently land damage, Fierce seems pretty good. But also, range 2, range 3 Grasp is really hard to beat and gives me more space.
Yeah, or range um, sticks if you really want to.
Yeah, fair. So both sides of this are pretty legitimate.
Yeah,
Um, how about Cross?
cross is good. Funny enough, you're probably going to be boosting cross more often.
Oh,
Um,
because you can
like,
retreat pretty easily anyway.
yeah, you
And
can retreat easy anyway. You have like a lot of weird cards that are effectively cross.
right,
Uh, like
yeah,
getting
you
out of
you
the
have
corner.
your double tap, which is a 6 speed 2 range,
Mhm.
pushes like retreat sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the time, this cross is just going to be for movement, and you already have a lot of ways to move your opponent or get out of bad situations.
Right,
So it's not quite as important. It's still good.
right.
Well,
Although
yeah,
that this is another way to go from range 1 to range 4 on defense and hit with a magic
yeah,
bullet.
yes, it is.
So that's pretty important.
Yeah. Um, dive and assault. Dive is important because uh, a lot of the time, the way that Lily ends up losing is because there is a boost that she can't deal with. She doesn't really have a lot of stat boosts except for the one on Magic Bullet in her
Right.
kit. So if your opponent puts down like speed or like something crazy, like I don't know, massive, um,
Sure. Way of the
then
warrior.
yeah, then you really just don't have ways to push over that barrier that they put in front of you because moving really isn't going to help you because you're probably at the range you want to be at anyway.
Right.
So usually the other solution is to boost or play an EX, and an EX might not be an option, and you don't have a lot of extra boost power in your kit.
So tech is often going to be how I would prefer to use it, and also how often am I going to want, other than getting out of the corner with dive, and I'd probably have better ways to do that. How often am I going to want to go in and brawl as Lily?
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Um, and then how about assault?
that's interesting. Um, you can play it on an opener to get to range two, and then get advantage, which is nice. The good thing about assault is that it gives you advantage, and even though you moved in, you don't have to be a range one.
True. Yeah. Um, uh, the range 2 with advantage um is a very different feeling than forced range 1 with advantage. You still have uh a lot more defensive options. You could prep at range 2, for example, and feel okay about that.
Yeah, you could step back one with your
Yep.
ability after you moved in,
Yep.
and get to three, and you got a gauge.
Okay. So assault is a solid defense is a solid offensive card at a range that I would probably like to be at anyway. Um, and then backstep is a big old retreat, which is
Yeah,
cool, but I can kind of do that.
yep. You can do it for free on your card. And there's a bunch of other things that basically do that for you. It's not bad. Again, like movement is movement, but you got a lot of it already.
Okay. Makes sense. So if I'll use it if I need it. Otherwise, assault is a pretty good card.
Mhm.
How about our? We've talked about these a couple times already as
Yeah.
being particularly strong attacks.
Yeah, they're really good when you can increase their range. Spike is really good when you can decrease its range.
Sure.
They both do more damage than most of, I think, every single one of the Lily's cards in her kit. By
Other than
base,
this, other than the specific payout options, these are
yeah,
both just like in some cases like more than double or even
yeah.
triple what she's doing with other cards.
It's a lot of damage. The sweep is a 1 to 4 or a 1 to 5,
Yeah.
or I guess longer with the boost. Spike hits on opener, so like if your opponent tries to block like a chip damage card, you can just crush it.
Yep.
Um, it's also just sometimes you stick them out at long range. They can't hit you with anything. You play the spike. If they play a card that isn't block, you hit them anyway. If they play block, you hit them anyway.
Yep. Okay. So, really, really relevant as non-metered, non like gauge or force spend dependent damage dealers, big consistent hitboxes. How how are the boosts stacking up to those really big obvious use cases?
Light is not quite as useful because your attacks are pretty fast anyway.
Okay.
Its most common case is to be put on one of your 3 to 6 projectiles because now it's speed 6.
Sure.
And if you can confirm that, then it does a lot of damage. The only issue with that is that Sweep is a very good card to discard for them. So is Spike.
Sure.
So
Okay.
like you're giving up damage for consistency, which is
Right.
sometimes good.
Okay. And you mentioned Lily having a weakness to boosts. I feel like light is one of the most relevant stat boosts that you're going to be able to use against play patterns like that. So am I
Yeah.
occasionally just counter boosting with light to deal with things?
Yeah, you could do that.
Okay. I just prefer not to because sweep is going to be like a third of my damage for the whole game for a while.
Yeah.
And then defend similarly. I'll use it when I have to.
Yeah, I don't use defend a lot on Lily.
Okay.
Again, the most common thing like that you might see someone do with it is boost defend with mugshot because
Okay.
now it
Sure.
really just moves you somewhere you want to be.
Right. Um, I guess, and if I this would always be something that I'm doing when I'm sort of under pressure. If I'm already in a position where I want to be, odds are my opponent can't even hit me back anyway. Okay. And then how about these last two? How about focus and block?
Well, focus is a good card.
Yep.
It's like a sweep, but it's one less range and it's fine. It's like focus is usually a great card in your kit, and it's a good option for her to defend at range 1 if you need a slow. Like if your opponent is really fast and you don't think you can defend with one of your fasts
Right.
or mugshot, you can play focus. You can play sweep.
Right. Yeah,
Read,
you're actually sort of weirdly stable on defense at range one for a zoner as Lily, I guess.
yeah,
Because you have several things you can do at range one.
you do, and like if it's your turn, you're really not that scared. If it's their turn, they're probably just going to be able to hit you with a fast, and typically fast don't do that much damage
Right.
unless it's like an ultra or something wacky.
Right. Or a character
Um,
who's just really particularly strong at range one.
yeah. Um, so there's that. Reading is really good on Lily because you can make them spend their cards that they actually will beat you with at a range that they can't hit you with.
Sure. Sure. Or use them to you uh read their cross that they're planning
Yeah.
to use to run in on you, and now they've lost the game.
Yep.
Okay. Um I guess your attacks for the most part are consistent enough that you don't need reading to confirm stuff. So reading is going to be more about like bleeding your opponent dry of options.
Yeah, or finishing the game or something. I mean, it's good with Wild Bunch and Bullet Barrage because you can tell them to play like a Grasp, and then you don't have to worry about the Assault or the Cross.
Sure, sure. Okay. That makes sense.
And Focus is like 1 to 2 or 1 to 3 with Lily's front side or 1 to 4.
Yeah.
So it can be used to pay for them, but typically if you're standing at 4 or 5, like the other cards will be better for that.
Right. Yeah. You're right on the periphery in exceed mode, and you have other more consistent range bands elsewhere. And how about block?
Block is block. Um, there's not a lot of points in the game where Lily has to block because she's just very consistent. Usually, either you just don't happen to have a card, or your opponent does something that makes you extremely uncomfortable. And the bottom side of block can solve that second problem for you.
Okay. Yep. That makes sense. That makes sense. And I feel like parry is uh gonna honestly, we could probably like sort of copy and paste whatever you said about tech
Yeah.
and say it about parry as well. That like it's for the things that Lily's very lopsided kit just won't let her deal with.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay.
Like Hadoken is one of them. Although Hadoken, you really can't parry once he hits you with it once.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
Yeah. The
Um.
recursion loop makes it kind of parry immune, but
Yeah.
calling it out
But
ahead of time might be useful. So basically,
yeah.
anything fast and ranged enough that she can't deal with it with
Yeah.
her normals.
Hadoken, low tiger shot, like any kind of attack shape that's really fast in long range or really slow and guarded in long range, you have
Right.
some trouble with.
And obviously, you can use parry as a if what you're really worried about is your opponent's boosts. You can use parry as a copy of tech to get rid of a boost before it even hits the field.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, any other considerations about the normals, or should we go on to counterplay?
Let's go on the counterplay.
All right. So those are the Lily things. What is my opponent doing to stop me from doing the Lily things? I love that that Tiger Destruction is now one of her cards. By the way.
Yes. Yeah. Um, one of the most important things to fighting Lily is to know what to do with your focuses. Both part of focus are really important for Lily because not being able to be moved stops her two tools that she uses to push you out with attacks. She
Yep.
obviously has the boost that move her around, but there's not a lot you can do about that. The other side, the reading part, is good because she goes through her deck really fast. So she'll go through her deck often faster than you do. And when she gets to the end of it, you can kind of use reading to punish her for doing that.
Okay. Um, so the Lily answer to that, obviously, find ways to deal with your opponent's focus. Maybe if you're looking for a parry target, focus is it. Um, maybe occasionally mix in some spikes with your range 2 grasps and things like that to deal with focus. And then to make yourself less vulnerable to reading, are you just kind of ditching normals wherever you can?
You can do that. I mean, you can pay normals for the Wild Bunch and Blood Barrage. You can pay them for reload and just keep shooting. Um, Also, you can just make them use the focuses otherwise. Like just playing double tap and excessive force, you might lose, but then they're down to focus. Like,
Right. And you have more ways to push them unless you're up against like a Tager or somebody
oh,
who's got a lot of you can't be moved effects.
mm,
Um uh you probably have more ways to push them than they have to resist being pushed.
yeah. And if
Okay.
you
So
can run through their focuses really quickly, then they just don't have any answers to a lot of your stuff.
so I guess focus is an important component of counterplay, but it if you resist 2 pushes from Lily, you didn't just win the game off of that value.
Mm.
Okay. So what else is my opponent doing to try to deal with her nonsense?
Boosting is a very good answer. A lot of the time, she will never let you sit at range one unless she knows she can win. And if you
Okay.
go to range one and she lets you stay there, then you probably don't have an answer to what she has anyway.
Okay.
Um, like unless you have some very specific stuff. What do you do against a speed seven push three?
Right. You boost is the answer.
Yeah.
Okay. So
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 boosting.
go to range 1 and strike is not the counterplay that it seems like it is.
Yeah.
Um unless you're striking with a focus or something. Uh
Focus or another fast card or something. I
right.
mean, it's really hard for a lot of characters to move into range one and strike because she's not usually going to let you stay at range one if
If she
she's
has an answer to
uncomfortable.
it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay. So make her uncomfortable is it you're probably going to be making her uncomfortable by boosting first and
yeah,
foremost. Okay.
because
Um
she only has two attacks, but she has a million ways to move you and move herself.
right. Okay. And everybody like obviously some characters like Ryu here have some boosts that are unreasonable. Sagat,
Hmm.
another character we've pulled out, has both massive and swift destruction. But
Yeah,
like most characters, especially in Lily's season and in that sort of area of Exceed's history, they have light, they have fierce. Like you can make her uncomfortable with just normal boosts. It seems like.
yep.
Okay, sounds good.
Um, Defend is pretty good in general because uh, three of her attacks just can't stun it
Yep,
if
and
you
all of
play
the things
defend.
that she's going to use at close range to push you out, especially.
Yeah,
So,
you can play if she's cornered and you play defend. You can probably safely play dive into her.
yep, dive assault stuff like that,
Yeah,
and just make up some space again.
yeah.
Okay. Yep. Um.
Otherwise, forcing her to use the cards that have the reloads on them. It's really hard to force her to use Bullet Barrage, but it's really easy to force her to use Hair Trigger.
Oh, sure. Okay. So you can deny her just keep shooting by making her dodge something really scary at range 3.
Yeah,
Okay. Sure. Just make sure that you don't do it in a way that lets her run back with the magic bullet.
yeah,
Okay.
and that's kind of the downside. And that's the other thing, right? Is that her move actions and her ability to move you and everything. She's really good at it. You may
Right.
not be,
Right.
but you need to know that you can discard cards to take the move action. And while it's not always like great because you're paying cards to move, and like that never feels good.
Sure.
I think I mentioned before we started the lesson that every one of the seasons has a lesson that it teaches you. Red Horizon teaches you the lesson that the move action exists and you should take it.
Yeah, absolutely. Every character, we mentioned Rygenoth a couple times on this lesson. Every character has something like that, which I equated to like a big glowing spot on the board that says you cannot stand here for Red
Yeah,
Horizon. So use that. Get out of the way of your opponent wherever you need to. I guess Magic Bullet is also probably like the preferred parry target for Lily.
yeah. Magic Bullet is good to parry. The Wild Bunch can be good to parry, but all of her other cards cover so much that
Right,
if you parry one, she still has the rest of them.
right, right. Okay.
Um,
Um, and we put all that stuff together, and we have a pretty specific anti-Lily game plan. It sounds like that
yeah,
she's beatable, but we are going to have to play against her in a way that's kind of different than a regular Exceed character.
she definitely plays like a character that usually just stomps you. Even if you can know what you're doing, sometimes it just happens.
Right,
Because she has so many answers and if she happens to draw them, the game just feels like you can't do anything. And that just
right,
sometimes happens. And
right.
sometimes it's the other way where she doesn't draw them. But more often than not, games with Lily come down to one side or the other is winning very strong.
Really, really hard. Okay, so she's
Yeah.
either going to get blown up or uh, kill you before you can do anything.
Yeah, and there's a lot of other characters that are like that in other seasons where they kind of have a I'm winning or you're winning and there's no in between.
Right.
And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just kind of how some characters play.
Sure. Yeah. There are some characters who like winning uh 5 life to 0 is like a blowout for them, and then other characters where like if you won by 18, you're like, yeah, that's normal.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, any other remarks you want to end the lesson with, Faust, or shall we wrap this up with our Lily coverage for the day?
You usually like recommendations for other characters similar.
Yes, absolutely. That was going to be if you didn't have anything else, that's where I was going to go next.
Oh, sweet.
We've already got. I already mentioned obviously Potemkin, um, but Axel.
Yeah.
Who else
Uh,
is a Lily type zoner?
New 13.
Okay, makes sense. Basically, anybody who's got uh, things where their normals have more range. It sounds like it's going to be a little bit Lily like.
Yeah. You can play what's her name? Uh, Lychee.
Ramlethal?
Rementhal is another one, but Lychee also has some of this where
Oh, sure.
a lot of good answers, extra range, very good at zoning.
A lot of
Actually
movement.
has the movement. Actually has answers at close and far ranges.
Sure,
Um,
sure. Okay.
yeah,
All right. And so, like, again, we're kind of just looking at like, because Lily is like the archetypal Exceed zoner. She was the first one. She's the one who, or the archetypal Exceed normal zoner, I guess. Because like Miska exists.
yeah.
Um, so maybe if you're looking for a different kind of zoning, you would look at a puppet character. You'd look at Zato or Shovel and Shield Knight or something. But if you're looking for a character whose game plan involves getting you in spaces that you're not comfortable with and throwing things at you that you can't deal with, characters like this are going to be what you're looking for. And if you're a fan of them, you might also be a fan of Lily if you're looking for some, you know, ancient Exceed history. Um, anybody else?
Um, hmm. Uh, Not that I can think of off the top of my head. Um, I would also like to recommend that for those of you who are, I don't know how much of the XP community nowadays is newer, but um, for those of you who are newer, if you want to try season one, which is a very wild and a wacky time in Exceed's history,
Yeah,
Lily and Ulrich are like two of the easier-ish characters to play that are pretty even with each other, but feel very strong when you play them. They're
definitely.
are
Yeah.
some of the stronger ones from season one, but they're very good to learn on.
Yeah, and they're not. I think Red Horizon has a reputation because it contains kind of a critical mass of now banned characters. Like this is the era of Juno, Alice, characters like that. Ulrich and Lily were never formally banned, but they're up there. They're really
Yeah,
strong and really
they're
scary.
close. They're like right
So
behind Zoe and Malin.
yeah. So if you can if you want to sort of experience the high power exceed meta that some of the old guard talks about sometimes. Um, Red Horizon is actually also just really cool. I think it has a reputation for only being the busted janky season, but like a lot of players that you probably respect got into the game because Red Horizon was cool. Um, so I think actually, Faust, you might be one of them. Are you you were an exceed lifer from the start, right?
It I was close. My sister actually, you've done lessons with them,
Yeah,
coroner,
yeah.
I think. But got into it at PAX 2015 or 2016. Brought it home. I was like, this doesn't look that great. And then I gave it a shot. And I'm like, wow, this is a good game. And then season two came out shortly after, and that's like when I got into it. But
Okay,
season one and two was like my jam.
okay. So
They're
and there are a lot of very skilled kind of old guard players who've been playing for at this point it's like almost 10 years now um who were playing because of things like Red Horizon and Seventh Cross, the ones that everybody's a little bit wary of now. So like give them a shot. They're a fun time.
yeah.
All right. um I've got all of my Lily knowledge now. Faust, thank you so much for your time. Anything else you want to
Sure.
mention before we wrap up?
I don't think so.
All right, well, thank you so much for your time, your expertise. As always, it's a great time talking to you. Folks at home, I hope you learned something. Go play Lily responsibly. She sounds kind of scary. Um, hope you all learned something. Hope you had fun. I will see you all for the next one. Goodbye, everybody.